80% of all cloud's data is stored on hard disk drives. Without the dozens of terabyte class of hard disk drive, our current AI approach wouldn't work. The sustainability of hard disk drive. Why we talk about hard disk drives? Well, 80% of all cloud's data is stored on hard disk drives. Yeah, that's an important component, and we from Toshiba are manufacturing them. One warning in advance. There is no single AI-generated content in this presentation. I'm sorry, we may talk about AI though. It's all real. That's me, I'm Rainer Kaese. I'm Senior Manager for Business Development in Toshiba Electronics Europe, and I'm responsible and taking care of the integration of our hard disk drives in cloud, enterprise, and other applications. When I thought about what makes hard disk drives sustainable, there are several components. They live long, they do not drag too much of power, do not drag too much of heat. You can easily recycle them because they are consisting mainly of aluminium. But thinking beyond that, what I detected doing a little bit of research is that one of the attributes of the hard disk drive, often underestimated, is its standardization. Yeah? Standardization in our fast-living IT world, in terms of hardware, means a lot because the cycles are so fast. Using things for a longer time is a very positive attribute for a component or a product. I mean, if you think about paper clips, yeah, we have the same paper clips since 100 years. If you find a pack of paper clips bought by your grandparents, you can still use them today to clip papers. Nothing has changed. Well, other standardization, power transistors. The famous 2N3055 power transistor has been first launched to the market in '65. You can still buy them new today at Amazon. It did not change. And what does it mean? If there is an old power supply from the '60s somewhere in a nuclear plant or whatever production, you can still repair it. Yeah? So standardized products cause a longevity of products which contributes to any environmental issues, any carbon footprints. And in fact, for the hard disk drives, the hard disk drives, as we know it today, the 3.5-inch form factor with SATA interface, they first have been launched in 2007 to the market with 500 gigabyte of storage. And if we look at today, then we had 2 terabyte, we had 8 terabyte. Today we have 24 terabyte. It's still the same form factor, it's still the same interface. It's basically the same product, just more capacity. We did some experiments in our laboratory. So this old thing, almost 20 years old, we can plug it into a new server, it is still running. The new things, we can plug it into an old server. Our oldest server in the lab is from 2009. It is still running. So there's a mix and match. You can do new things, you can do old things, all with the same standardized component. Think about any other component in IT where you can do this. Well, some of the kind of classical enclosures maybe, but in terms of SSD, CPUs, GPUs, there are so many standards, so many things new. For the hard disk drive, you can run old storages. So this is an example of Toshiba's end-user data center running several 100 petabytes of storage. So by chance, we found that they still have rows of racks running on a hard disk drive for a capacity of 6 terabyte. They were installed in 2016. We are giving a 5 years warranty. Yeah, but it seems that the hard disk drives run enough for almost 10 years. Yeah, they're still running, and they were telling us that the failure level was very low, kind of a few a year. And I mean, hard disk drives 10 years old, usually we are already next generation. But still, new hard disk drives of today will fit in to do the replacements. Yeah, this supports to longevity. And we see more and more cases where kind of due to the standardization, due to the long lifetime of the hard disk drive, people run their storages way longer, yeah, contributing to all this sustainability. So what at the end of the life cycle of a hard disk drives? I take this picture because of there is a story around. We also selling hard disk drives in Middle East and Africa. In Africa, we found out that although they're using hard disk drive, Africa is on a way of a digitalization. Yeah, they are all doing digital payments, so they must use IT to support that, but they don't buy enterprise hard disk drives. So it is not clear where they get it from. But with a little bit of research, with a little bit of talking to people, there seems to be a market of old retired hard disk drives of our region finding their way to Africa. Well, they are used. They know that they are used. They know that they have probably slightly higher failure rates, but they have built a model around the dealers do replacements, everything working well. It's exactly as they have done with the cars in the 70s and 80s. Yeah? The obsolete cars, the older cars from Middle Europe went to Africa. They had higher failure rates. They were breaking down, but the people had measures around to repair them. For that particular brand here, they did something in addition to that. They know that old cars of their brand were going to Africa, and they established spare parts. They established support in Africa, although they haven't sold the cars there, but it brought them an excellent reputation. Actually, this is my car in Africa. I guess it made its way to Africa exactly in this way, somewhere in the 70s or beginning of the 80s. I'm still driving it there. My rich neighbor from Cairo next door, he is driving a new Mercedes because he knew from his parents that this is a good brand. Of course, then, now he has money, he is rich, he can buy a new Mercedes. And this is something which I think we should consider in the industry, in the IT hardware industry. These things, they live longer. Yeah? They are used 5, 6, 7 years here in Europe. Yeah? We as vendor support them, and then they find their way into regions where they cannot afford new stuff. And they're operating it. But it's still our product. We haven't sold it, but it's still our product. If we manage to kind of accept this, support this, give them a firmware update if they want, then, I mean, they are doing this for business. They're earning money with this old IT equipment. They get rich, and in future, they will buy new equipment, and they will recognize the Toshiba hard disk drives that I've been using over the last years. They are good hard disk drives. Let's buy them when they come new. So we have to accept that used equipment is a market, and it's good that it is like this, because this contributes to sustainability. Actually, talking about family pictures, the story just repeats. So 2025 in Egypt, and with this car, we just, well, I found the other picture from 2069 in Peru, in the legacy heritage of my parents-in-law. Yeah? Yeah. So this was in Peru with the old Mercedes, and then I told my wife, edge it looks the same. We should do the picture again. So it's a common pattern. I hope it will be a common pattern in IT as well. I think we have to do to support the longevity and sustainability. Okay, a little bit more about what comes next for the hard disk drives, how we follow the track, what we do. We have just launched a technology with 12 platters. Yeah, so they started with 1, now we are at 12 platters. Next year, hard disk drive with 12 platters will be launched. We are at a 30 terabyte range per drive. This also supports to a lot of storage for lower cost, for lower power consumption. So 2027, we will have the 40 terabyte class. Then we will change to heat-assisted magnetic recording, bringing more energy to write even more dense. And then we will have 50 terabyte class. 60 will follow. There's a lot of momentum in the hard disk drive. Even though it's an old technology, as I said, 80% of the data is on hard disk drives. So we have to just continue to store your cloud data. What may next? Well, for technical products like the technical components, complex technical components, but in high volume in the mass market as the hard disk drives, there are two driving forces in the market. The first one is the market requirement. So if there's no market requirement, we won't develop new things, obviously. But well, we probably all agree that data is generated more and more, and with this AI, we are generating data just because of the sake of having data. So if we had a 200 terabyte hard disk drive, people would use it. And actually, that's the technical feasibility. The second one is it needs to be technically feasible. If it's physically not possible, there won't be a product either, obviously. So what we can prove in our laboratories is that up to around 200 terabyte is technically feasible. But there's a third thing that has to be in place, which is it needs to be economically manufacturable at a reasonable cost that the guys outside are willing to pay. Let's say, if we would launch a 200 terabyte if we would launch a 100 terabyte hard disk drive next year, it probably has to cost $10, $50, $20,000. Yeah, but you can buy a 24 terabyte for say $400, $500 right now. Yeah, so just take 4 of them. Yeah, you have less than 2,000 for the same capacity. So it doesn't work. So we have to launch all our new capacity points, which I've shown earlier. They must not cost twice or third times. They must cost initially maybe a little bit more, but eventually they should be all on the same cost range. So this is our task for the industry. As long as we manage this, there will be new hard disk drives. Another thing important for sustainability, just to let you know, so current popular capacity points, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24 terabyte. As you see on the middle column, the hard disk drives, they drag almost the same power under load. So it's around this 8 watt per unit. But as the capacity grows, the important factor of watt per terabyte drops. Yeah? From 480 milliwatt to 230 milliwatt per terabyte. Yeah, this helps OpEx, this helps saving power, saving heat, saving cooling power in the data center. Yeah, actually, it also supports higher capacities. Yeah, so this is when at the moment there's a severe shortage. Yeah, everyone is hungry for the terabytes, but the industry cannot deliver enough. Well, one of our response to the shortage is higher capacities. Yeah? If you deliver the same amount of drives with higher capacities, there's more storage. Yeah? If you have the same amount of drives with 8 watt, but higher capacity, there is less watt per terabyte contributing to carbon footprint, everything. I said we still talk about AI. Artificial intelligence requires 3 things. As we know it today, it requires 3 things: algorithms, compute power, data storage capacity. And I thought about what do we as hard disk drive vendor can say to AI. Yeah, we are just storing data. But let's say if you think about historic approaches towards AI, there was an approach in the 60s. People developed the algorithms. Some of the algorithms we are still using today. So in the 60s, we had the algorithms, but in the 60s, we didn't have any compute power, and we didn't have any reasonable data storage. So coincidentally, Toshiba entered the market of the hard disk drive in 1967 with a 14-inch washing machine form factor type of product, like this two cute gentlemen are presenting. This didn't give enough power to calculate any of the algorithms that the scientists developed and that. Then it became quiet. It didn't work. We had the algorithms, but we cannot do anything with them. There was another approach beginning of the 90s, because at that time we had sufficient compute power. People were developing ASICs for learning machines, for expert systems and something. It worked well. They were able to calculate the algorithms, but a practically usable AI requires base data to learn from. Yeah? Intelligence means learning, base data. Yeah? We had hard disk drive bricks like this with 150 megabyte, a few hundred megabyte at that time. You could put some in one machine, yeah? But then you have maybe a gigabyte, 1 gigabyte. You cannot put much data in 1 gigabyte. Okay, you can put personal data. That worked well, but nothing that can lead to a reasonable AI approach. And then I say, the AI of today is just because of us. Well, the GPU guys may say it's because of the GPUs. As a hard disk drive guy, I say it's because of us. Because we have now 20 terabyte, 22, 24 terabyte in big data centers. So you can store enough data, you can generate enough data to kind of have learning algorithms around it. Well, it's probably also the fact that you are not restricted to one instance or one machine anymore, because we have a fast network connection. Yeah, you have access to data everywhere. But without the dozens of terabyte class of hard disk drive, our current AI approach wouldn't work. So because of us. Well, that's basically it. I have just two more things. Our booth, CO4, in the corner of the hall, we are running a kind of technical raffle today at 5 o'clock, tomorrow at 3 o'clock. And we will have a NAS box with 2 hard disk drives from Toshiba and our partner Ugreen, and a direct attached storage box from our partner Promise with 4 hard disk drives. So the Promise we will give out today, the Ugreen tomorrow. What we are doing is, for the technical guys, we have 60 hard disk drives in one system. We have arranged the 60 hard disk drives in a way that we have 10 of them as a hardware RAID with double parity. So 2 drives can fail in this hardware RAID out of 10. We have 6 of them, and we put an overlaying software RAID where also 2 of these hardware drives can fail. So a lot of drives can fail. Hard disk drives don't fail that often, but for the game, it's ideal. So we will call you to pull a hard disk drive. Yeah, if the storage continues running, it's live in operation. It stores data, it shuffles around the data. If the storage continues to run because of this high redundancy, you will get a small prize. Yeah, if you are the lucky one finally crashing the storage, you will get the storage box for you. So, feel free, or you are very much invited to visit us at our booth CO4. Yeah, we have our partners there who contribute with their systems to show our hard disk drives in real life motion. We have a setup of 100 hard disk drives, 60 hard disk drives, and many more systems. So please come. Yeah, we look forward to welcoming you there. For now, enjoy the lunch, and thank you for attending.